Hello, everyone. My name is CJ Harris. I'm the Associate Youth Director here at Sammamish Presbyterian Church, and we are in our series called Planting Faith. And I'm really excited about this talk, and it's going to be kind of short and sweet this week, and we're going to talk about Noah's Ark. It's a big story, and we find it in Genesis. Then fairly in the beginning, we hear his story from Genesis 5 through... we hear about him a lot. Until about 10. Yeah, chapter 10. So a good 5 chapters of Genesis is totally dedicated to Noah's story and the story that was happening back in that time. So we're going to start by just retelling this incredible story because I think there's lots of parts to Noah's story that we can really relate to. And so let me just start with this. Noah's story starts in Genesis 5, and as we learn about his long list of relatives that go back to Adam, we pick up at his story when Noah is 500 years old, and he was a dad to Shem, Hem, and Japheth. I could be saying those totally wrong, but please forgive me. And during this time, God was seeing that the people were acting horrible, they had evil intentions, they were acting out of their wickedness, and God was really grieved with how humankind, people, ended up being. And he was really disappointed in his creation. And so he says in Genesis 6:7, God says this, "I will blot out from the earth human beings I have created, people together with animals and creeping things and birds of the airs, for I am sorry I have made them." Wow. To hear that, that was something that God had said, those are big words. God was disappointed and he wanted to correct it. And that is a heavy statement. And we find Noah ended up having favor with God. And scripture says that Noah was a righteous and blameless man, and Noah walked with God. It literally says Noah walked with God. God's plan was to destroy everything, but he gave Noah a very detailed plan in what he was to do to protect his family and creation. It was very detailed to the cubit feet. And Noah was instructed to build this great big ark, this boat, if you will, and there to be several layers of this boat so that animals, 2 of every kind, a male and female, could be in this boat, this ark with him. And God made it very clear. And the next thing that is said in scripture, it says Noah did everything that God commanded. Not a blink. God listed this huge long paragraph in scripture in Genesis 6, and Noah's response is, Noah did this. He did all that God commanded him to do. Man, it's sometimes even hard for us to take out the trash without a little bit of a back talk or a little bit of a, right? So think about that. Noah just did it. He did exactly what God commanded him to do. That is a big time ask, right? And Noah did everything, right? And not one complaint, right? And this ark was massive. There's a replica in Kentucky, and its length is 1.5 football fields. That's a long ark, okay? And it cost them $100 million to make. And this thing that they made, this replica, doesn't even float. I know, okay? So think about the time, the resources that Noah had to invest in to build this ark. It wasn't just a snap of the fingers. It was a time investment. And it's quite incredible. Now, I also want to point out that in chapter 5, it notes that Noah's 500 years old. And then by the time this ark is done, he's about 600 years old. So between what God said, this command to build this ark and get all the animals and all the food together, 100 years went by. 100 years. Or longer, maybe 120. But about 100 years went by to build this giant ark and to do exactly what God commanded. I think sometimes now I feel like as a society we kind of have this squirrel brain. We see something really shiny and pretty and want to go after it, and then once that shiny and pretty thing is gone, we back off and we chase that next shiny thing. But Noah had a resilience to keep stepping forward in faith to build exactly what God had said. 100 years, a whole lifetime in our age. And that is quite remarkable. And I think about the judgment he might have probably faced with the people in his society. Think about your friends. Like, would your friends think you're absolutely crazy for doing something absolutely crazy? Likely. If I was building an ark, I'm pretty sure my friends would wonder if I need to be committed. Because they would just wonder what in the world is happening. But regardless of the judgment of others, regardless of missing out on things, sacrificing a ton of time and maybe missed out on some celebrations to build this ark, Noah kept going. Noah kept going. Noah's faith and trust in God is quite overwhelming, is it not? It's hard to imagine sticking through this whole time. Every day, Noah had to make investments in God. What is God asking you to trust him with? So just sit with that for a second. What is God asking you to trust him with? You think about that. What is God asking you to trust him with? Noah trusted him with this ark. His whole family, all of creation really relied on Noah. And he followed through. He followed through in the midst of everything going against him. What is God asking you to trust in him with? I hope you can sit with that for a second and let that sink in as we keep going. Now Noah gets on this ark and he got his family in. He got thousands of animals, 2 by 2, right? And it started to rain. It was starting to rain as he was getting all of his family in. And for 7 days it rained, and they were in this ark. Then the flood came. So 7 days it was raining. It was just kind of this, probably a big storm was rolling in. And Noah just knew that I got to get in here. And 7 days, okay, then the flood came. It says the windows of heaven were opened and the floods came. And it says in Genesis 7:16 that the Lord shut him in. Wow, can we relate? The Lord shut him in. We sure know the feeling of being shut in. But they kind of experienced a really long time. Okay, so 7 days. Now the flood is going for 40 days and 40 nights. So just, if we're keeping a little calculator, I did this earlier. 7 plus 40, okay? We'll just keep adding, all right? After the floods ended, Noah and all that were on the ark waited another 150 days to wait for the water to recede. It stopped raining, but the water wasn't gone. So for 150 days, they waited. So, let's see, 7 plus 40 plus 150. So we're up to 197 days. Then God remembered Noah, and God blew a great wind to get the waters to recede more quickly. Then the ark came and rested upon the mountains of Ararat. On the tip top probably, because the waters are pretty high. And so it took a long time for these waters to recede, but God blew a great wind to help move the water. And for about another 40 days, and the water continued to recede. So we're just going to add another 40 days to that. Can you imagine how cooped up they felt by this time? They were 237 days in. They might have made a little tally mark each day that they realized that they were in this thing. And finally, at day 237-ish, Noah finally opened a window, and he sends out a raven. He also sends out a dove. But the dove came back because there was nowhere for it to go. So Noah waited another 7 days. And he sent out the dove again. And the dove returned with a freshly picked olive branch. But that wasn't it. So Noah waited another 7 days and sends the dove out. Then the dove doesn't return, and Noah knew that the waters had receded the earth. The waters had receded the earth, and Noah knew this. And for the first time, Noah takes off the cover of the ark. And then another 30 days goes by, and God finally speaks again. It's incredible that there's like these phases that Noah said, okay, we'll take off this. We'll take off this large covering on the ark now that we know that the water is receding, and then we'll wait 30 more days. Could you imagine how frustrated his family would be? Like, really, another 30 days? Like, the dove's gone. But he waited another 30 days. Then God finally speaks. I think this is exactly what Noah was waiting for. God finally speaks and tells Noah to go out from the ark and leave and be free. And there's suddenly this, like, it's, oh my gosh, it's happening. Like, we get to leave this ark, and God is letting them go. Noah was shut in, and there were definitely phases to this shut in. Isn't it true we faced our own phases of this shut in? And there were even phases for Noah to come out. Even the threat of the rain was gone. There were different things that still had to happen. That water had to recede. And at the same time, there must have been some fear trying to get back to normal. I mean, they just went through a crazy event, and no one they knew is alive. And going back to normal probably seemed impossible, and they probably had a lot of questions for God. I think God may have felt Noah's fear, for once they were released, God made a promise to Noah that he would never destroy the earth like this again. And God made a covenant promise with Noah and the next generations that nothing like this would ever happen again. And when we see the sign of the rainbow, God says that there's a bow that it reminds, it's a reminder of this covenant promise. And it's not only a promise for us that we remember that God made, but it's this representation of this rainbow, this bow, is a reminder that God made this promise. It's a reminder also to God that he would never do anything like this again. And I think that came with some relief for Noah and his family. They don't have to build another ark. They can settle down. And I felt a deep resonance with Noah, especially during this time. I mean, we aren't running from a flood, but we are in a global pandemic. And we are being asked to stay home and stay safe. We have faced different phases of this COVID-19. And we long for it to end and that people will be safe and well. But it's going to take time. Noah's faith from the beginning was forced to be resilient. And there was likely much social suffering, financial suffering in creating this giant ark. And even to be stuck with his family, and all these animals must have been difficult. But as they rode out the storms, they waited, and we wait. We wait and we long. And we are in those phases. We can sit in that tension with Noah of wondering when this will end. We wait for bear hugs from friends. We wait for jobs to be back. We wait for celebrations to resume. We wait in the midst. How are you doing with the waiting? What is God asking you to trust him with? And how are you doing with the waiting? My encouragement to you is to talk to God. Tell him everything. The experience that Noah went through is traumatic. It's trauma. And this season of life is also pretty traumatic. And we all face this differently, and we're all coping with it differently. But I've realized that I've had this really hard time of focusing and really hard time of being fully alert. I've been really tired a lot, and I've been wondering, and I've been finding articles that this time period for us is really quite traumatic, and your brain is taking a trauma response and causing some tiredness and causing an inability to focus completely because your mind is going through so much uncertainty that it's unsettling to the body. So if you're feeling that way, it's okay, and give yourself grace and time. Take some walks and take some breaks, and be gentle to yourself. Noah probably wasn't the same after all of this, and it's likely that we aren't fully going to be the same either. And just remember that God is with you. God's promises are true. He is walking with you in this. We walk in faith, we walk in trust, and we are reminded of Noah's resilient faith in hard times and being shut in, and we can lean on his experience because we know that he knows exactly what we're going through, and we can feel our story in that story. And we lean on the same God that Noah trusted in all those years ago, and that same God is the same God that we trust in today. And we lean in, we cling onto, we can't see everything, we don't know everything, but we trust anyway. I miss you all so very much, and I truly hope you are doing well. And if you ever need anyone to talk to, please reach out. I am here for you. Again, I can't wait to one day give you guys good bear hugs. I miss you all so much. God is with you, and you are not alone. See you later, guys. Thanks for watching.